It's 8:30 a.m. Good Day continues live and local on Fox 4.
Well, after nearly a month on the run, a murder suspect who skipped out of his trial is now back in custody.
Fox 4's TCM Muzinga live at the Kaufman County Jail with the very latest.
Yeah. Hey, good morning, guys. Trevor McEwen is in the Kaufman County Jail this morning right behind me, and he was booked in at just before 6 a.m. this morning, bringing an end to a statewide manhunt. And again, caught after almost nearly a month on the run. But if you take a look at these photos, this photo that the Kaufman County Sheriff Office released, this is what you see. You see of him in the back of a police car, barefoot, covered in what looks like mud. Now, McEwen is accused of shooting and killing his 35-year-old neighbor, Aaron Martinez, in Forney in May of 2023. And according to arrest documents, he admitted to the crime. McEwen was released with an ankle monitor after posting a $2 million bond, but he violated restrictions on his bond and then went back to jail, then was given another chance. That brings us to May 5th, when he was due in court for the start of his murder trial. Authorities say that morning he burned down a home, cut off his ankle monitor, and disappeared in Van Zandt County. Well, the family of the victim says they felt the justice system failed them not once, but twice. It is unclear where McEwen was found or if a $30,000 reward led to a useful tip. But McEwen has been caught. He is in the Kaufman County Jail this morning, and now a new murder trial must be rescheduled. So McEwen is charged with capital murder, arson, 5 counts of assault with a deadly weapon. And Kaufman County sheriffs are saying that they are hoping to release more information about this situation and him being caught later today. For Good Day, I'm TCM Muzinga.
Yeah, I'm sure more charges will follow. Thank you, TCM.
And Lauren, this is Johnson Park on the border between Everman and Fort Worth. This is one of the areas where the hail came down at a pretty furious rate. We do have some pictures of the hail sent to us from a viewer here in Everman. Some of the hailstones, baseball-sized. These can certainly be hazardous if you're caught outdoors when they fall. Some other still photos show hailstones not quite so large, but big enough to have an impact, especially if they come down continuously for 10 or 15 minutes. Last night, we had a crew here in the park, and residents were showing us damage to their cars, including a cracked windshield. We also saw a back brake light that was smashed in by the hail. The people who happened to be here when the hail started said it was something they won't soon forget.
And when I was coming in, I mean, it just started just out of nowhere, just boom, boom, boom. And so I kind of tipped my car a little bit or whatever because I didn't know what it was. And it was scary, it was very loud. And I'm like, what is going on? But thank the Lord that, you know, that's all that happened. You know, it could have been worse.
Over at an Everman apartment complex, there were people waiting things out under a covered area and some tables and benches. There was some damage to vehicles while some owners took precautions by covering their windshields with blankets. Thankfully, things are much calmer this morning after a pretty eventful night. Reporting live, Dan Godwin on Good Day.
Thank you, Dan. Multiple people hurt by a lightning strike Sunday afternoon at Benbrook Lake, 10 miles southwest of Fort Worth. Crescent Fire tells us that about 6:30 in the evening, there were 14 people gathered under a canopy at Mustang Park. Apparently, they were trying to hold that canopy down during the storm. A lightning strike hit the canopy, a tree, and a vehicle. Pictures from the Crescent Volunteer Fire Department show some of the damage. 12 people treated on scene. 2 others taken to the hospital as a precaution. They are expected to be okay. If you can hear the thunder, if you can hear the lightning, you need to be inside. Definitely not under a canopy, Allie.
And you know when lightning is going to strike, that thunder shakes everything. Yeah, Allie, some people heard a lot of it.
Yeah, it does. And as Lauren mentioned, when thunder roars, go indoors. National Weather Service uses that slogan, and they mean it because you are close enough to be struck by lightning. And lightning is looking for the nearest destination to get rid of all of that energy. So something like a canopy or being under a tree, much more likely that that'll get hit instead of an individual person. So getting into a car or a shelter of some sort, into a building, is what you need to be doing in those situations.
Dylan, thank you. I know it's a busy night for you and for folks out there as well, because we have seen so many pictures of the damage, smashed windshields, this huge hail. So we sent a crew out to check out even more damage. Let's check in now with Amelia Jones live in Everman. All right, Amelia, so what's happening out there right now?
Heather, we pulled up to Johnson Park on Everman Parkway about 15 minutes ago, and we encountered a family that was wrapping up a get-together with family and friends at the covered park area here. And I was chatting with one of the women, and she showed me her car, and I want to show you. She said that she was pulling into the park to, see her friends and family, and that's when hail just started falling. She said it came out of nowhere, and it was very, very loud. You can see the ring here where it shattered her windshield. And then I want to show you the dents that it did to her hood. So not only the hood of the front of her car, but then also on top. But she said she just sat in her car and waited for it to pass because she didn't want to get out. She didn't want to get hit by it. As I was talking to some other people who, again, were attending this family and friends get together, they said that the children were so scared. Yes, there are also children and families here. The children were so scared. They were crying. Parents were trying to calm them down. And there was a baseball game going on. At Johnson Park, there are several baseball fields, and a baseball game was going on at the time when the hailstorm came through. The family said that they thought it was a baseball that ended up getting hit all the way from the field over onto the roof, but no, it was that hailstorm. And thankfully, no one was hurt here. Again, they're wrapping things up. They're going to head home. Right now, all we're seeing is a pretty good light show behind us. We know that potentially storms might continue to move through here. As Dylan was saying, we're still seeing some storms in our viewing area, so you want to make sure that you have your precautions in place. If you can move your car indoors, do so. But everyone here, thankfully, was not hurt, but they are left with significant damage to their car. And the woman we spoke to says she's going to contact insurance and just hope that they can get it fixed. For now, though, Heather, that's what we're seeing here in Everman. I'll send things back to you.
Oh, that's always so challenging. I'm sure it was scary for the kids as well. Hey, listen, on your way to the park, did you happen to notice any damage? Because it sounds like you kind of pulled up right as it went through that area. So I didn't know if maybe I always think of, car dealerships and other places where there might just be, a ton of damage on windshields.
Yeah, Heather, not really. The most we saw was a lot of debris. So a lot of leaves. We could obviously tell that the wind must have been really powerful as this storm moved through. So just a lot of wet roads, significantly wet roads as we were coming in. We even drove through a brief shower on our way here from Dallas, but that was really it. Not too much glass on the roadways. It seemed like everyone also had power as we were heading this way.
All right, Amelia Jones, be careful. Thank you. All right, so we're going to take you now to Benbrook Lake. That's where officials tell us multiple people were injured from a lightning strike there. Crescent Fire tells us 14 people were gathered underneath a canopy. They were trying to hold it down in the storm. A lightning strike hit the canopy, a tree, and a vehicle. 2 people were taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. 12 others were treated and released from the scene.
A man armed with a flamethrower carried out what the FBI is calling a targeted terrorist attack in Boulder, Colorado. 8 people injured, including severe burns.
As Doug Luzada reports from Washington this morning, this all happened at an event calling for the release of Israeli hostages in Gaza.
Right out of the gate, the FBI called this a terror attack, and according to witnesses, the perpetrator made his motive clear. Streets in Boulder blocked off as first responders swarmed a pedestrian mall where moments earlier a group had been calling for the Israeli hostages in Gaza to be freed.
It was chaos and ruckus. People were yelling and screaming.
Witnesses described an almost unbelievable scene.
There was a guy threw a Molotov cocktail at a group of protesters, and one person caught on fire from head to toe, and they were burning up. Their whole body was burning up, and a few others were also on fire.
And witnesses say the man yelled "Free Palestine" as he carried out the attack.
It is clear that this is a targeted act of violence, and the FBI is investigating this as an act of terrorism.
The victims ranged in age from 52 to 88. The suspect who was arrested was identified as 45-year-old Mohammed Sabri Solomon from El Paso, Texas. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller posted on X, a terror attack was committed in Boulder, Colorado by an illegal alien. He was granted a tourist visa by the Biden administration, and then he illegally overstayed that visa. In response, the Biden administration gave him a work permit. And the attack came less than 2 weeks after 2 Israeli embassy workers were shot and killed outside of the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington. That suspect was also said to yell, "Free Palestine." Now, since that attack, police in a number of cities, including here in the nation's capital, have stepped up security around synagogues and other Jewish sites. In Washington, I'm Doug Luzader for Good Day.